Celtics Beat is brought to you by Prize Picks and the Game Time app.
Woo! Welcome in, everyone. New Celtics Beat, and not much going on since I was last with you. Evan Valenti, he tackled the show last week, so I'm thrilled to be back here, and I guess we have a little bit of catching up to do between, let's see, since we were last on, we had Matt Peralt with us, and we were, really breaking down the draft picks and what Boston did, Baylor Shireman, all of that, and since then, let's see. Record-setting deal as expected for White gets his huge contract extension, so he's on the books. Summer League is upon us. Our guest, Gary Washburn, who we'll welcome in just a second, is joining us from Las Vegas, getting ready for all of the action there. What else? Jaylen Brown hates everybody, and the Celtics are for sale. So nothing big. If I look like I've got bedhead or something like that, it's actually just me pulling my hair out with what has been happening since this team locked in banner 18. So welcome again. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Rate, review, all that good stuff. Subscribe, most importantly, to the Celtics Beat podcast. Just another day at work, huh, Gary?
Yeah, it's been an eventful offseason already, so a lot going on. But the season never stops. It never, Vegas is a city that never sleeps, and the NBA is a season that never stops. And yeah, like the sale of the team, and now the whole Team USA stuff, and the extensions and all that. It's a lot. You hope things calm down, but as of now, they're not. So we'll see what happens over the next few weeks.
So I don't think we need to really spend time on Jayson Tatum's new contract that was expected, and congrats to him, earned. I don't even think really we need to break down Derek White's because, that's what everyone has been clamoring for, and he got his payday. And so this core that this team has, again, Tatum, Brown, White, Holiday, Porzingis, even Pritchard, Hauser is potentially going to get paid. Obviously, Al Horford is not retiring just yet. He's going to come back. This team is fully in run it back mode, potentially for multiple seasons. They're all eyes now. We've been so used to for 16 years saying banner 18, banner 18, banner 18. We're going to get used to saying banner 19 now, because that is obviously what this team is chasing, what is at stake. But the big stories, the two really huge stories, obviously, the sale, which I know you have written about, Gary, in the Boston Globe and online, bostonglobe.com, and also, of course, all the Team USA stuff. Derek White added to Team USA, gets that final spot after Kawhi Leonard bowed out, and it was Derek White going, not Jaylen Brown, a champion like White, but NBA Finals MVP, Eastern Conference Finals MVP. Derek White doesn't have those. Grant Hill coming out talking about how it's about fit, and Jaylen saying that he believes in cryptic tweet after cryptic tweet that this is a Nike thing. He has been critical of Nike in the past. Team USA, very much a Nike brand, that this is Nike alienating Jaylen Brown, that this is, Stephen A. Smith is taking his victory lap about how Jaylen Brown is not liked and is not marketable. And those are among the reasons that Derek White is there. So honestly, Gary, where do you want to start? You want to start Jaylen and Team USA, or you want to start with the sale?
Wow, I think the sale's more boring, but
all right. Well, let's start Jaylen then. So there are different angles to this. Obviously, there have been people sort of deciding how they want to craft the conversation. Is it is Jaylen being a bad teammate in his really? I wouldn't say
Adam,
he's being critical.
I think this is what it is.
Okay. So start there.
Yeah. I don't think Jaylen has a problem with Derek White making the team. I think Jaylen has a problem with the process that the players were chosen. I think he has more of a problem with Devin Booker. He has more of a problem with Tyrese Halliburton, guys he feels like he has accomplished more in this league. And remember, Devin Booker also made the All-NBA team over Jaylen. And I do agree with that. I think he's got a legitimate gripe. I like Devin Booker. Devin Booker can put the ball in the hole. But what else does Devin Booker do? He's not a plus defender. Phoenix was a 6 seed. In this season, one of the more disappointing teams in the league. They got swept out of the playoffs. Jaylen wins Eastern Conference Finals MVP, NBA Finals MVP, and can't get a sniff. But Booker's an automatic, like, punched, his ticket is punched for the Olympic team. Halliburton, a rising star, a solid player, but also coming off an injury during the Celtics series. A guy who hasn't accomplished nearly as much as Jaylen. His ticket is punched. I think that Jaylen has an issue with the selection process as a whole. Then a player of Jaylen's same position, you could say Jaylen is a younger Kawhi. That's asking a lot. When Kawhi's a top 75 player, then that spot opens and Derek White automatically gets the call and Jaylen doesn't even get a text message. So, yeah, I do think he has a legitimate gripe here. I don't think it's about Derek White. I think it's about the entire process where there was no tryouts. Grant Hill just pick and chose the guys that he wanted. And it's great. He wants Jayson. That's Duke. I mean, I can see Jaylen. Oh, that's Duke stuff. And obviously, Jason's an Olympian. Jason's an automatic on the team. So is LeBron. So is Steph. So is Joel Embiid. If those guys want to play Olympic, and Durant, if those guys want to play Olympic basketball, you're going to put them on the team. So it limits the number of spots. But then Drew Holiday, obviously a mainstay, a guy who came off the plane from Milwaukee after winning a title in 21 and helping the Team USA to gold immediately. Remember, he wasn't there when they lost that game to France. He comes and they go undefeated the rest of the way. So he's a guy who's cemented on that team. But some of the other decisions, I think Jaylen had a problem with, especially the one I will just point to, the Devin Booker and to Tyrese Halliburton. And I'm not saying he's got a beef with those guys, but if you're looking at Booker averaged 27 points a game. He shot 49% from the field. But what else? Why is Devin Booker this staple on the Team USA? Why does he make all NBA over me? I think that's what Jaylen's asking. And then you throw in the Nike situation. Is Nike fueling the choice of the team? Jaylen is a shoe free agent. He does not wear Nike. He only wears Nike. He only wears Kobe's. He'll wear Nikes. He'll wear his Kobe's. That's it. He has an issue with Nike over them dropping Kyrie Irving a few years ago, things like that. So, of course, this thing is political. Of course. I mean, it's been like that. Look at the 216 team with the women's side where Candace Parker, I think, came off WNBA MVP, won a title. Gino didn't choose her for the national team and the Olympic team in Rio. People still ask about that. This thing is political. I mean, and for Grant Hill, we know it's matchups and all that. Okay, great. And Derek White's a great fit. He's not going to complain about playing time. He's not going to pout. I remember seeing guys like Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green in the last Olympic. I think it was the Rio Olympics. Kind of Jimmy Butler was just kind of not engaged because he wasn't playing much. He was that 10th or 11th guy. And that happens. Some of these guys have big egos, and Jaylen has an ego just as much as anybody else does. But I think he's more upset with the selection process. There were no tryouts. There were no chance for guys to make an impression one-on-one. Let him hoop to get his spot out as opposed to, hey, Devin Booker, hey, Tyrese Halliburton. I think he's asking, well, why Halliburton? Over Dame, is because he's a rising, some of the decisions on this team. Bam Adebayo was not good in Tokyo. He was not good in Tokyo on that team. He automatically got in. And I'm not saying nothing against Bam. Bam might be great this time. He's one of the league's top big men. But I think Jaylen definitely has an issue with the selection process. He feels like he's being slighted once again. He looks at the all-NBA team. He looks at all these things, these awards and all that, and he's like, what have I done? And it's probably because he's been vocal. It is political, without question.
And listen, I see, I see political decisions being made at the youth sports level in my town. So I'm certainly not sitting here and doubting that it happens at the Team USA level. I completely agree with everything that you just said, Gary. But is Jaylen sort of going about his frustration in the right way?
I don't know about that. There's tweets, the cryptic tweets. He probably needs to have a conversation with Derek White eventually. It puts Jayson Tatum in a tough position. But
Really
I think Jaylen had been waiting for this call, the opportunity to play for Team USA. He played for the 19 team, and nobody was good in the 19 world. They finished seventh. Like that team was not good. Jayson got hurt. You know, it was Kimba, it was Marcus, a lot of other guys. They just underachieved. That was not a good run, an impression. But that was also 5 years ago. So I just think Jaylen has a problem with the process. I think he looks at certain guys in the league who have been handed or gifted all-star status, and he's thinking to himself, why not? What's wrong with me? What have I done? And then he's coming off NBA Finals MVP, Eastern Conference Finals MVP, shut down defense on Luka. So you're telling me I'm not a good defender now, okay? You're telling me Devin Booker is a better fit, or nothing against Devin Booker, but I think that's the problem. That's the guy he's probably pointing to and saying, how come they're about the same age, came in the league around the same time? How come he's locked in without question, and I'm on the window. I'm steaming up the window outside the candy store because I can't, I can't even get in. And I just think that that's what his issue is. And to me, I do agree with some of that. Now, his methods, the cryptic tweets, could be handled better. Does he need to have conversations with Jayson and Derek to make it say, hey, man, it's not personal. I just don't understand it. I think, and who knows, they might have already had those conversations. But I do think he's got a legitimate gripe.
We'll get right back to the show, but have to tell you about a good friend of the program, good friend of the CLNS Media Network, as a matter of fact. That's Game Time, who, of course, powers this show. Game Time, it makes getting tickets even faster, even easier. Prices on the Game Time app, they actually go down, if you didn't know this, closer to tip-off with basketball or whatever it may be. And with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, which I know I care about, my kids definitely care about, the lowest price guarantee, it's all significant in Game Time. It has it all. Just makes it easy for you. It takes the guesswork out of buying any type of ticket. And there are definitely different times that you could hop in. There are last-minute deals. You could save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, which I love. Gotta love going to see stand-up, theater, whatever it may be. Flash deals kind of in the same vein. You could save even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of a game or an event.
Kaufman, I think, is a game changer for sporting events, like, period, right? Like, because, I hear this all the time. The price of sporting events is astronomical. Totally understand that. But if you're willing to wait a little bit for the game to actually start, just hop around a Game Time, baby, and get an actual a sporting experience that's way more affordable. Are you talking up to 60% off tickets as soon as the game starts? Let me tell you, folks, there's a lot of game left. Ever hear that before? It happens to be one of my favorite sayings when it comes to any sporting event. When anybody takes an early lead, well, have that as a part of your purchasing experience with Game Time.
Get this, too. Lowest price guarantee. Or Game Time will credit you 110% of.
How do you lose?
You don't. I mean, it's like free money. Let me tell you. Take the guesswork out of it. Buy tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app. Create an account. Use the code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account. Redeem the code. It is CLNS. That is CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets. Lowest price. Guaranteed.
Yeah, I think he's looking for a little validation here. It's like, hey, and one of the things that I really enjoyed was when he was awarded the NBA Finals MVP trophy. He looked legitimately shocked that he got this award. And you can argue over who was supposed to get, I don't really care at this point. He got the award. It was given to him. And he looked legitimately thrilled, shocked that he was given this award. And then to back up what you said, we're looking at guys, and I'm not trying to clown on like anybody, but, Ant's a young guy. He's great. I'm not saying he's not great. And of course, there's all over stuff today is Ant the guy? I'm not going to even have those conversations. But Ant's young. He's 22 years old. He's going to be pretty great, but is it too early for him? Devin Booker got to the finals one time, and last year was a giant disappointment. Again, he just beat Tyrese Halliburton in a series. Now, Tyrese didn't play the whole time. I get his frustration. It seems like he's always looking for that validation and just never feeling sort of content enough. Like he's talked about, like, I know I'm not going to get what I deserve in terms of the awards and things. He's talked about that, but it feels like this is a bigger point of contention for him. And especially when you look at when Tatum came back from the last Olympics with a gold medal in his hand, he let Jaylen Brown kind of celebrate with it. There's that famous photo, I think, at a nightclub where Tatum's with him and Jaylen's got the medal in his hand. He's thrilled as he could be for his teammate. I feel his frustration, and I don't even have a problem with him being vocal about it. Yeah, sure, it puts Tatum in an awkward situation, and it puts Derek White in an awkward situation. But at the same time, it's like, is he not one of the best 15 guys in the NBA at this game? If he is, then he deserves to be on that team. Like, he does. He deserves to be there. He deserves to have all the stuff that's supposed to go along with being a superstar in the NBA. So I don't have any problem with any of the way that he's handled this. He's allowed to speak his mind. He's allowed to have questions about things. And I think it's a little unfair that he's not on the team. I'd fully back him on this. And when you look at this Team USA team, you have certain guys that do certain roles. But Gary, wouldn't you want a guy that's like versatile, can play up, can play down in terms of offense and defense?
I mean, I'd want him and Derek, to be honest. Like, I think Derek fills a great role defensively, and Derek can score, and Derek can block shots, and Derek can run the floor, and he's not going to complain when he doesn't play. And it could be a chemistry thing, but the decisions were hard, much more difficult than years past because you had LeBron coming back, you had KD who's like, okay, I'll go one more run. And then you had Curry, who's never been on an Olympic team, saying, yeah, I want to try it. So you've got three players who are over her 35 and over on this team, which is rare. And then you've got Embiid, who just decides he's got his citizenship. Now he wants, that's 4 spots that are locked. Okay, so now you talk about 8 spots. And that's where I think Jaylen feels like, Tatum, okay, so that's 7 spots. You want to put him in there. Holiday, now that's 6 spots. That's the thing. So you're down to 6 spots. And Ant-Man, I think Ant-Man is a rising star. I think they want him to be the face of the league. And I think this is kind of like a hint, like, okay, Ant, like, this is your shot. Here you go. I just think, as I repeated, it is Halliburton and it is Devin Booker. I think he's looking like, what do I need to do? What has Halliburton done? In different positions, he's a point guard. What's Halliburton done, or what's Devin Booker done besides score? Okay, besides score the ball, prolific scorer, probably is going to have his number retired in Phoenix. Great. Hasn't won a title, lost in the first round, got swept. Like, with that big 3 with Durant, like, so you got 2 members. We got 2 members of the Phoenix Suns on this team, and the team that lost in the first, like, some of his. And then you got Grant Hill, who might have something. It might be personal. I'm not talking about he doesn't like Jaylen. It might just be like, I don't think he's going to be a good fit chemistry-wise. We don't need someone in Paris speaking on all these political issues and keeping it real and talking about Hamas and the situation in Palestine. Like, it could be that too, where it's just like, we just need ball players. And Derek, Derek's a good guy. Derek is a all shucks kind of guy. Jaylen's not an all shucks kind of guy. And it could be, I do think there's something inside Jaylen's membership, his defense of Kyrie Irving, his embrace of the Muslim religion. I think there's a lot of things on this thing that's not necessarily hoop that has kept Jaylen off this team. And I also think it is some kind of, like, you don't even let him try out. You don't have a camp. Or you don't even call Jaylen. Like, to me, I think he's got a gripe. I think legitimately, and I said the Devin Booker, and I like Devin Booker, but I don't know. You tell me, what does he bring to the table besides scoring? Does he defend well? Does he rebound? He shoots very good from the field. He's almost a 50% shooter, and he can score. We all know that. How did that work out this year in Phoenix? It was an abject failure. It was a disaster. We all know that. And so you just hand him a spot, and then Jaylen's like, and then Kawhi, and I'm sure he's upset, like, you put Kawhi on this team, and from the jump, Kawhi misses most of the playoff series with Dallas, and you just give him a spot too, knowing he's not healthy. Jaylen's like, okay, like if Kawhi's 100% in and healthy, that's a different story. You put an injured Kawhi in here over me, and then you take him out, and you don't even call me up to replace him. I think he's got a gripe. The Kawhi thing is weird. What was going on there? Why did they knew he's not healthy. He's going to come back from missing the playoffs in late April, early May, and come back, 6 weeks, 8 weeks later and be 100% and play and all these, like, no, everybody knew, like, why is he here? Not talent-wise, but we all know Kawhi's not healthy. And so what happened? It's like, that's Grant Hill. Like, what is he doing? Now, like, I think Grant Hill's a respectable guy, but, Hall of Famer, a guy, but it's getting weird. And I just think Jaylen notices that and says, like, hey, I've got much respect for Kawhi. Kawhi's a Hall of Famer, first ballot. He's a great player, but we all know his injury history, and you just give him a spot. And so but I also think it's political. I also think it's, Jaylen's going to get on this international stage. You don't know what he's going to say. It's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot here, obviously, especially when some people like to look at Jaylen Brown as either Kawhi 2.0 or a poor man's Kawhi or whoever that, when you're looking fit for fit, okay, you're getting rid of Kawhi or he's bowing out. Why wouldn't you go with a guy who has a very similar skill set in Jaylen Brown? And so I get everything that we've been talking about in terms of why he's pissed and he should be pissed. I think this conversation is completely different, maybe not on the Stephen A level with the little feud that those two have going on, but in terms of the, like, Richard White, Derek's dad, tweeting at the end of the day after those Jaylen cryptic tweets a couple of days ago, like, rough day on Twitter on this app or whatever, like, let's all try and be better tomorrow. I think it just becomes awkward when he's reacting the way that he is reacting publicly after his teammate was selected, as opposed to, player X on another team entirely. And another part that we didn't even.
Awkward. I do think it's awkward, but I also think he probably felt like, let's be honest, Kawhi, what was it like? The Kawhi stuff broke at like 10 o'clock in the morning, and Derek was on the team by 1 p.m.
Right.
So, like, was there any calls? Was there a Zoom call? Was there a text message?
Was there any consideration at all?
We knew Derek White was a replacement weeks ago. They had already worked this out that Derek White was going to be the replacement.
I think Jaylen's asking why, and I think Jaylen's asking why wouldn't I have chosen over Kawhi? If Kawhi, we all know and we all knew the chance to Kawhi making it through this thing healthy was slim to none. Everybody knew that. He's coming off an injury and whatever mysterious knee injury. Everybody watched it, like we all knew, is Kawhi really going to play here? Is he going to go through all this, the ups and downs and these physical practices and the games against the USA select team? I think it's awkward, but I think he's, I don't know. Like, I think he obviously needs to have a conversation with Derek White to say, Derek, it's not personal. I'm just bad about the process. I don't think, it's going to affect chemistry now. They're going to be all mad at each other they're not going to repeat. It's going to stop them repeating. No, but I do think Jaylen is just like saying to himself, once again, I can't get the respect I deserve. I've been in the league 8 years, 3 All-Star teams, 3 All-Star teams, All NBA a couple years ago, highest paid player in the league. I back it up this year. Everybody talked about I can't take care of the ball, my decision-making. I can't go left, all this stuff. Yeah. He shuts it down. Good defense on Luka, wins Eastern Conference, that block on, saved them in the series, hit that 3 in game 1, scored 40 in game 2, that block on Nimhard, and he basically won them the Indiana, although Jayson was good too, the Indiana series, come back, do it again. They didn't stop Luka. but made things difficult on Luka, where Luka was not that 35 and 18 assists and 12 rebounds and all. Like, he wasn't that guy, and he still can't get a call. I think he's got a gripe. He's got a point. It's awkward. Derek, I don't think will take it personally. Derek's a good guy, and I'm sure they'll have a conversation about it, but I just think Jaylen's tired of the system. This system that says you have to be a Nike person, you have to cooperate. And now Curry's not Nike, neither is Joel Embiid, and Ant-Man's Adidas. So it's not necessarily that, but there's somebody or something telling Grant Hill, stay away from this guy. That's what I believe.
Yeah, I mean, look, Derek's the ultimate underdog story. He's your cousin from Boston. He's the Celtics or the Balls hat when he announces his new contract. He's everything that Luke Cornett wants to be at the highest of NBA levels, in a great, obviously very well paid package at this point in time. I don't think they're going to have an issue. I agree with you. I guess if we, rather than going in circles on this conversation with, if we're projecting this ahead from a Celtics fan standpoint, so certainly not Jaylen's standpoint, but a Celtics fan standpoint, could some of this stuff be good for the team? Like, this is obviously going to create yet another chip on Jaylen's shoulder. Jayson Tatum, and I'm not saying at all that he wasn't happy for Jaylen getting those 2 MVP awards, but him not winning either of those when he obviously had a case in both, another little chip on his shoulder, going into next year. The fact that this team, some people are already going to be a little, not doubt them, they're the championship favorites, but a little skeptical. Can they repeat? What are they going to look like when there's no Kristaps Porzingis for half the year? Probably, can some of this stuff in terms of Jaylen, Jayson, elevating their games at yet another level actually be good for this team?
Yeah, I think the motivation will be there. And I think Jaylen will prove it on the basketball court. So will Jayson. I think they'll be fired up and motivated. And obviously, as we've seen over the last couple of weeks, teams like the Sixers and the Knicks are coming after them, making these major moves, Oklahoma City in the West. So I do think that there'll be plenty of motivation. And I think they'll be fine by the time late September comes and they're getting ready for training camp. This is July. It's 2.5 months away from camp. This is the hot topic now. Basically, there's nothing going on in sports. Like, whenever there's when the ESPYs come, we all know that they're just, in the middle of the summer, there ain't nothing going on.
And congrats to Jaylen on his ESPY award.
Yeah, that's great for him. The Major
Great
League
consolation
Baseball
prize, I'm sure.
Yeah, the All-Star game is coming up. Whoop-de-doo to that. The Sox are kind of making a run, and we're all going to discuss over the next few weeks whether they're going to make a move and add to this team. And then obviously in a couple of weeks, training camp opens up, and we're looking forward to the Jacoby Brissett era. Like, is that hey, that sounds fun. So, there's not a lot going on right now. There just isn't. And then the Olympics will take center stage beginning in a couple of weeks, obviously, when everybody gets to Paris and the tournament begins. So I just think this is the hot story right now. And I think, Team USA is going to move on. Jaylen's going to have to move on. And I just think it's obviously a cold news week. But I think 2.5 months from now, when conversations are had, I think they'll be fine.
Here's my question. You kind of tapped danced on this earlier, talked about it a little bit earlier. Obviously, this puts Jayson Tatum in a really weird situation where he has to talk about this publicly. He did talk about it a little bit yesterday. How do you think he handled that?
Okay.
Poorly.
Yes. I think, he was kind of like, well. And if I'm Jayson, I'd probably text Jaylen and go, hey, man, you good? Or something. That might have been what Jayson could have done. But it's not Jayson's responsibility to do that. That's probably what I would have done. Hey, man, you okay? You should be here. Just give him some reinforcement. But I think Jayson's kind of going, I think Jayson is in the kind of the, hey, I'm happy to be here. All these big dudes that I've dreamed of playing with, LeBron and KD and all that, I'm living the life right now. So I got nothing to be mad about. So it's hard to ask him, do you think Jaylen should be on this team? Like, and Jason's just happy. He's coming off the bench. He's, probably one of the better players on the team. He was very good in the Canada game. So, and I don't know if that's Jason's nature to turn around and be like, well, yeah, Jaylen should be, to go at Grant Hill. Grant Hill's, I'm sure, a role model. The Duke ties.
There are a couple ways to do that, though. Like with like he did his one-on-one with Malika Andrews the other day, and she put him on the spot. Fun question, said, who, like, if your Celtics team that just won the championship was going up against your Team USA right now, who wins? And he answered that the way that every Celtics fan would want him to. He said, I'm gonna roll with the guys that I just played 10 months of basketball with, and had an incredible year. Like I'd take that too. So that's great. That's obviously a feather in the cap of the hometown team. I just think, like, and he's terrible in these situations historically. Anytime he has been in these types of situations, he handles it, I think, like you said, okay. I said poorly. I think it's okay at best. When he doesn't have to go at Grant Hill. He can just say, listen, like, Jaylen's an incredible player. He deserves to be here. So does Derek. And it's hard. There are only so many spots. And, my heart goes out to Jaylen.
That's kind of what he said, but he didn't mention, he didn't go, like he could have said like that.
He was just like, like he didn't really say anything.
Yeah, there's limited spots. A lot of guys, right. A lot of guys who could be here. Yeah,
I speak like he could have shouted out Jaylen a little bit, and I'm not saying there's friction between them or anything like that. He just could have handled it a little bit better without being controversial toward Grant.
I agree. Or he could privately just send a text to Jaylen and go, hey man, you got done wrong. I'm with you. Don't, like, support each other in this situation, and then support Derek too, because Derek's happy to be there. He's in Colorado at a kids camp, and then suddenly gets the call. So he's flying from Colorado. Now I think he's, probably in Dubai with them now. I think they just landed there, and, for these exhibition games. So, kudos to Derek. He deserves it too. There's nothing against Derek White. I think he's done a great job. I think he's a great player. But I do think it's pretty evident. And could Stephen A., like you said, he's taking a victory lap. It could be something personal about Jaylen, perhaps his attitude, perhaps Team USA not wanting to put him on that stage, that international stage, where he can say whatever he wants about whatever he wants. I was in Nigeria. I was in Japan, and Chimizi Metu, who's played the NBA, literally laid out the Nigerian basketball committee for making them fly, do a 10-hour layover in Germany to save money. Like, he literally, during a press conference in Japan, laid out the Nigerian basketball committee for basically saving money and penny pinching for having him sit in the hotel lobby because they couldn't check in. Like, he literally laid them out, and it made Nigeria look terrible. Like, you can't, you're sending these guys to the Olympics, you can't even give them first class accommodations. You're flying from whatever, Lagos, Nigeria to Japan through Germany with a 10-hour layover or something just to save money. Like, and he laid it out. Right. And I always remember that, because some of these guys, when they get on that stage and they know the international media is there and they're going to speak their mind because they don't care. And I think Jaylen is at that point, like, I don't care what you think of me. I'm going to speak my mind. Nothing Team USA is probably afraid of that. They're probably afraid of you putting a political person, a person who has been socially active, a person who's spoken his mind before on that stage, where everybody else is going to be, doing this and, hey, I love Paris and all that. That's not Jaylen. And I think he understands that and understands that they're probably afraid of me.
All right, one quick break from the show. We'll get right back to it, I promise. I know you are eager, but I got to tell you, today's show, it is powered by Prize Picks, the official daily fantasy partner of CLNS Media. Prize Picks is America's number one, numero uno daily fantasy sports app. Over 5 million active members. Prize Picks, it's the easiest, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Not like other apps, it's just you against the numbers. Truly, it is that simple. All you do is you pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you watch the winnings roll in. You can now win up to 100 times your money, as a matter of fact, on Prize Picks. With as little as 4 correct picks, you can turn $10 into $1,000. So with the finals over, I know, bummer, obviously, that we don't have more NBA basketball for a little while, unless you want to include Summer League. That's right around the corner. The hoops action doesn't stop with Prize Picks because we have got the WNBA as well, and that season is just barely underway. We got loads more games, opportunities to watch rookies like Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, some of the vets out there who are going to be representing the country on the Olympic team, that U.S. dominant squad getting started soon. And, with many of these players available to you, you don't have to just fade basketball. You can stick with it, Ev, and you could win up to 100 times your cash by watching them ball out.
Of course, you can do other things too. I'm not saying the WNBA is not a place to make some money for sure, but there's other things that we can look at on Prize Picks. I talked about golf at once. I'm going to talk about baseball here. One of my favorite things you can play on Prize Picks is the hitter fantasy score, right? So it's a little different, a little unique. As an example, you add up all the things that happen during the hitters at bat, whoever you pick, or their game log, for example. Like if they hit a single, it's 3 points, doubles 5, triples 8, home runs 10, a run batted in is 2. If there are runs scored, it's 2 points. A walk, hit by pitchers are both 2. Stolen base, Jaren Duran, killing it right now on the base paths. Those are worth 5 points. So you look at the daily hitter fantasy score, right? Look at that. Say, is it going to be above or below that number? And if you're like, wow, this guy's due for X, then maybe want to pick more. Or like, this guy's in a slump right now. Maybe want to pick less. It's that simple, that easy. Log on to Prize Picks, make it happen, Kaufman.
Here's the thing. You can't do any of what Ev just said. You can't do any of what I just said if you don't download the app. You got to download the Prize Picks app. Do it today. Use the code CLNS. Again, code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, code CLNS on Prize Picks, deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Let's get back to the show. So while we've got a little bit of time left, I was talking about this story versus the sale story, and you said the sale is the more boring story. I think it's certainly the less salacious story, but I personally, and easy for me to say, I'm not the one covering it and writing about it like you are, really digging in. I don't find it boring at all, because I just think the element of this one, there's the projecting ahead to the future, and is the next owner, is this going to lead to a tear down? What does this mean in terms of the cap and the team and the future and all of that stuff versus, this team, a dedicated fan-driven ownership group, obviously, that cares about rings and banners and wants to do this each and every year. At least that's what we've been led to believe, and sort of the proof's in the pudding. And if Wick is staying on as governor through 2028, there will be no quick changes here. But the fascinating thing to me, Gary, and I don't know if you felt the same way when all of this started to break, is that it is the family trust, and they're getting their Irv Grossbeck, Wick's dad, the 90-year-old Stanford professor, is, getting his estate in line in the, for the future here. Is obviously, he's only got so many years left, hopefully, quite a few, but again, he's 90. I just think everyone, I don't know about you, again, who is someone that is in much closer and deeper than like Evan is, or I am, or our listeners are, but I had zero idea that this wasn't actually Wick's ownership, and that this was the family's and really his dad's. I didn't even know Wick had siblings that were involved in this process. I thought this was Wick's baby. He was the owner, or co-owner, as he always likes to say, and governor, obviously, and that, it really, the interview that you listened to with CNBC the other day, it sounds like he is, being put in a position by his family where this doesn't actually belong to you, and we are selling it even if you are unhappy about it. Am I reading that wrong, or is that how you feel about this?
No, I think that's a correct situation. I think the family, because he has 3 siblings, is going to have to figure out what to do, and probably Irv Grousbeck is decided to kind of cash out and just split it amongst his children. You can't just, he's not going to hand the Celtics to Wick and go, okay, Wick, you handle everything. So I think it's reluctantly, and remember, I don't know if Wick has children. The question is whether the Celtics the Grousbecks want to keep this in the family, like the Rooneys or like other family.
The Crafts.
The Crafts, where they're like, hey, hands down, but we don't see a lot of Grousbecks working this is not the Cowboys where Jerry's like godson is damn near the general, the whole Jones family is working in the organization at high level positions. We talk about nepotism. No. Every time look at the Dallas Cowboys, it's Jerry's, his whole family, his I'm sure his niece and auntie and and I'm sure his 16-year-old nephew's probably director of scouting or something like that. The whole Jones family. This is not the case. So I think it's a situation where they have to. And then also, if you look at the worth of the team, it will never be higher after winning a championship. And then we're entering the era of the second apron, where the Celtics will pay upwards of $200 million in taxes, luxury taxes. There's a lot. And I think Wick's father probably said, let's break this up and let's cash out. And that's not his decision, because obviously I think people on the inside knew Wick is the face of the organization, but he's not the money man. It's his father. I think a lot of people on the inside have known that, like Wick's money comes from his father. And that happens a lot. A lot of these primary guys who are front men are not necessarily the money men. They're just the most charismatic of the ownership group, or the one that we'll pay the money, you speak for us. And I think that's
you said at the inside. I think that was publicly a shock.
Yeah, I do think so. I think it's a family trust issue, and I don't think Wick wants to sell the team. He loves it, but it's also not his decision. His father is still very much I think still professor at Stanford at 89, 90 years old. So it's not like his dad is losing it or his dad somehow mentally slipping. It's just a decision probably with siblings who probably don't want to be involved in the business. Now, if his 4 kids all decided, Dad, we want to continue this, then I think it's all good. But that's probably not the issue. Wick is the only one involved. So it gets where it gets. I'm not saying it to me, it's kind of boring because we don't know what's going to happen. And we're like, what if some guy comes, trillionaire buys the team, like some guy from Saudi Arabia, anything can happen at this point. I do think a certainty is whoever buys this team will want to build a new arena, because that's where the money is. Look at Steve Ballmer. It took him 10 years, but Steve Ballmer is like, we got to get the hell out of this situation at the Staples Center where we're playing Saturday afternoon games because we're third fiddle to the Lakers and the Kings. We need our new own spot, and that's a revenue maker, is having your own arena. So if I'm the new owner of the Celtics, I'm coming in and saying, where the hell can we build a new arena? Because as much as TD Garden, it's a nice arena. It's not a bottom 10 arena. It's not a top 10 arena. It's probably in the middle of the pack in terms of amenities. It's fine. It is not a band by. It's not getting, oh man, this place sucks. You guys have been there. It's a nice arena.
It's been around a long time. It's long time, decades.
But it's also 30 years old in a technological age where that is like 100 years old for arenas. I mean, the Texas Rangers built a new stadium. Like, how long was they're not at Globe Life anymore, right? Like, or whatever that stadium was. Like, they literally was in a stadium for like 22 years, and they built another one. Like, that's crazy. Like, like this is what's happening. And now people are going to look at that new Intuit arena in LA And so the Garden is going to become more and more antiquated as years go on. I think their lease is 10 years. So if I'm the new owner, I'm coming in saying, where can we build another arena? And because you're basically handing your money to the Bruins, who own the arena. So that's going to be an interesting aspect. I said it's boring because now we're talking about family trusts and numbers and second aprons and all that. Like, I don't think, do the viewers, do the listeners, do you young Celtic fans really care about family trusts and all that? I don't think that, I think they're like, just tell another rich guy to buy the team and pay everybody so we can win more championships. I think that's what the fans are saying. Like, no.
Well, unless I say to those fans, hey, it's John Henry, which I don't believe it is.
Please,
what kind of reputation does he have around here? You know what I mean?
Just don't. I think people are a little bit wounded from watching Clipped and think, oh, don't let some Donald Sterling type come in here and buy this team and cut costs and turn us into the Charlotte Hornets. I don't think that'll happen. I think if you're paying $5 billion for a team, you got to have a lot of money. Like, this is not, you're not doing patchwork stuff here. You got to have the collateral to spend $5 billion on the Celtics. So, but if I'm the new owner, I think the first thing they do is, where the hell can we build a new arena? Whether it be some people, Somerville, near the casino. Can you build a new arena near the waterfront like the Warriors owners did, where they built Chase Center? People said there was no way you could build. It was too expensive, crazy. They did it. That's the question. I think once the team is purchased, where the hell they're going to play for the next 30 years after their leases up.
Because that's what we need. We need more construction in Boston.
Go ahead.
We need more construction in Boston. That's what we really need. I think that's
exactly. We need a whole new, right at the waterfront. I mean, Seaport.
Big dig,
right to Seaport.
6.0.
That's why, I think that'd be great. But, to me, that's where the money is. So that's where the interesting part of this story is. But like Wick's family trust and, who owns who, what percent, I think that's kind of boring at this point. We all know he's selling a team. He probably doesn't want to sell a team.
Does Pagliuca have the capital?
Pagliuca. Them and Bain Capital still has some stakeholders in this thing. Maybe they can rally a couple.
Yeah, that's the thing. You hope Pagliuca can come up with the money, or the investors or the partners. Now, I think, who wouldn't want to own the Celtics? Right? There's not a lot of Ballmers out there, but there are a couple of eccentric guys out there that just want to own a ball team and would love it. And, and it's not a money-making proposition. It's just not. You break even at best, but you're in the spotlight. So I'm sure another Mark Cuban or another Ballmer could emerge. And we don't know who this person is yet, man, woman, whoever it is. We don't know. But I think that's the fascinating part, too.
Since
anything to add?
Yeah, no. Since he's in Vegas and we have the Summer League Celtics coming up here, what storyline or what player or what are you most looking forward to while you're out there besides Bronny James maybe playing for the Lakers at some point?
Oh, well,
sucks.
This team is actually pretty good. 5 players last year who actually played in a Celtic uniform were Jaden Springer, Drew Peterson, J.D. Davidson, Neemias Queta. And I can't remember the fifth.
Jordan Walsh, baby.
Jordan Walsh.
Yeah, sorry, our friend Jordan Walsh. And then you got the 2 draft picks, Shireman and Anton Watson. And then you got the kid, the son of Ron Harper Jr., and you got Eddie House's son, Jaylen.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing him. I'm sure he's going to drop. I'm sure Eddie will be down here to watch some games, and I'm sure that's my MF and son. When he drops some threes and when we win a game or something. So it sounds like a deep team. It's just you want guys like, I need to see, honestly, about 2 guys, Drew Peterson and Jaden Springer. Peterson, is he a kind of a guy who can eventually maybe replace Sam Hauser? And Jaden Springer, is there a reason he's occupying a roster spot? And does he have potential to help this team down the road? I think they need to take a step forward. I think J.D. Davidson, he's one of those cases where he came out of college probably 2 years too early. He's just working himself into being maybe on a fringe of being an NBA player. So he'll get a third chance at a two-way contract. I think he's comfortable in the Celtics system and they want to see him flourish. So we'll see. Those guys need to be the best players on the floor. Keita, I don't know how much he'll actually play, but I do think it's good to see him in the system. And Jordan Walsh, we'll see it too, but he's kind of going in year 2 of probably a 3 to 4 year kind of development process to see if he'll help as this team gets older, or sorry, not gets older, with guys like Horford and guys leave. Can Walsh be that kind of guy who's ready to step in and play a role maybe in 2 years?
Like Gary said, the basketball season, it never stops. We're going to let him take at least a couple-minute break before he does whatever he is doing out there, getting ready to cover the Summer League season in Vegas. But Gary, always appreciate when you take some time for us and breaking everything down, from the Melrose Place-like drama that we have involving Jaylen Brown to the sale and everything. I mean, this Celtics team, we should still be basking in a championship. Instead, forget it. That doesn't happen, I guess, in 2024. You can get Gary on Twitter at G Washburn Globe. And of course, check out all of his work in the Boston Globe. Gary, thanks so much.
Jake, I also have I wanted to plug my book. I have a book called coming out called The Boston Celtics: An Illustrated Timeline.
Awesome.
175 moments from the history of the Celtics. So it's not, it touches on the championship. So you're going to get pictures and vignettes about the title team and all the way Missoula and all. So the good times and some of the not so good times of the history of the franchise, detailing all the championships. So if you don't know a lot about the history of the franchise, or guys like JoJo White and Dave Cowens and Tom Heinsohn and Lasky and Frank Ramsey are only names you've overheard. We talk about all those pivotal figures in the history of the franchise, as well as all the stuff all the way until title 18. So it's going to include all the good stuff. It's on Amazon. It's coming out in a couple of weeks.
Awesome.
Boston Celtics: An Illustrated Timeline. So thanks for letting me say that.
Without a doubt. No, when it comes out, we'll check it out, have you back on the show to talk more about it too, once we've had the chance to scroll through it. That's awesome. I'm excited. I love these I use the word commemorative. That's not the right word, but these books that encapsulate the history of a franchise and not just obviously. I mean, there are a lot of great books that do a great job on a singular season as well, especially one that the Celtics, like the one the Celtics just experienced, but ones that go all the way back through. I'm pumped to check that out. So thank you for mentioning that as well. And absolutely check out Gary's work, both Boston Globe and search Amazon for the new book and check that out in a couple of weeks. For Evan Valenti, I am Adam Kaufman, and shout out to the dude who I ran into at the pool the other day, who turns out is a huge Celtics Beat fan. Love you for listening. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you again real soon.